This is TVC News at 10. The top stories tonight.
More than 30 die in food tanker accident in Benue State.
Maritime workers to begin strike over non-payment of contractors.
Outside Nigeria, Australian police foil terror plot, arrest 3 suspects.
And in sports, Nigeria to play Cameroon in last 16 of the Africa Cup of Nations.
We begin tonight with a sad one. More than 30 persons are feared dead and many others injured in Benue State following an explosion by a tanker laden with petrol.
The tanker fell along Aliade-Makurdi Highway. Mayowa Okwanto tells us more.
This accident took place Monday night by a tanker which fell on its way to Makurdi from Alede in Benue State. More than 30 passengers were affected when their vehicle ran into the inferno. Some houses near the accident spot were burnt, with some residents sustaining injuries.
The accident occurred and the house affected. This happened as a result of the frame of the fire got affected the building and our properties got burned.
When I came around, I saw that many of my brothers were burnt. They told me that a tanker fell down, then there was people that gathered, which most of them were villagers here.
The villagers came here, they were scooping the fuel. It's in their numbers, and that's why we have these casualties. 2 personnel of the fire service were affected by the second explosion from the tanker, and they are now at Alede General Hospital taking treatment, along with other victims I mentioned earlier.
Men of the Federal Road Safety Corps and the police were on ground to clear the heavy traffic. The charred bodies have been moved to the mortuary and the wounded taken to the hospital for treatment. Mayowa Okwanto, TVC News, Alede, Benue State.
Meanwhile, tragedy was averted today in Lagos as a tanker laden with 33,000 liters of premium motor spirit, popularly known as petrol, experienced leakage, spilling some of its content at the Ketu-Alakpere axis of the state. The incident left residents stranded at the bus stop and caused traffic which extended over 3 kilometers. The tanker has been moved to tollgate and the road cleared for vehicular movement. Abosedi Omohui reports.
Like light rains pouring down from the roof, this tanker spilled its content from one of its 3 compartments, which experienced leakage. If all 11,000 liters of this compartment spills its content, that would be about 1.6 million naira gone down the drain.
This morning, we are about preparing for the office. On my way coming from Owando, and I saw the vehicle gushing out with fuel around the police station here. That there was a vehicle with a petrol station with petrol gushing out. Then the police people now come out.
While our men were on their beat, they discovered that a tanker fully laden with petrol was leaking fuel. Okay, so we quickly had to stop the vehicle, then cordon off the road while we called on emergency rescue team. You can see the fire service is here, Lasema is here, police are here, RRS, everybody is here. When anybody sees this type of thing, they should just call our regular numbers 112 and 77 and avoid the tanker. The best way is to avoid. Don't try to overtake, don't try to stay behind.
But for the presence of officials of different safety and security outfits, this would have resulted in a fatal accident.
The incident is unfortunate. It's unfortunate, but it's not deliberate. The tanker that loaded from the depot doesn't have any issue before he got to this place. Unfortunately, when he got here, he discovered the valve of the discharging hose pull out. That will cause the problem we have here now.
While the situation lasted, road users were held in a gridlock that stretched a long distance. Man-hour wasted is unquantifiable.
Instead of people helping people to get to their destination on time, they are just avoiding people, leaving a lot of people to go back, to go and take another route, which will be long journey. Me, I'm still trying to sort out whether I'll find somebody that is going my way that I can as well go along with. So it's been hectic, almost an hour now.
After about 3 hours of contemplation on the next line of action, the tanker, along with its content, moved to tollgate bus stop on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
This is what is left after the truck that was spilling its content was moved from this Ketu Alakpere bus stop on the ever-busy Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. The truck has been taken to tollgate and it is waiting to be transloaded into another truck.
I can just discover along the line when we are coming on the motion on the road. So one of the compartments just pulled out on the motion. So although it has been sealed already, everything has been sealed, but we don't know what happened. We thank God for the last man, police, civil defense, fire service, all of them, they run to our rescue.
To avoid recurrence and ensure safety on the highways, it is important for vehicles to undergo routine maintenance and checks in line with global best practices. Abosede Omowi, TVC News, Alakpere, Ketu, Lagos.
Earlier we told you about a tanker that spilled its content and exploded in Benue State around Aliade Expressway, whereby more than 30 people got burned and others injured. Our correspondent who covered that report for us, Mayowa Okwanto, joins us now for the latest this hour. Hello, Mayowa, what can you tell us first off about the burnt tanker? Has it been evacuated from the expressway, and what's the condition of those injured in the hospital?
Well, first of all, the explosion was a shock, and it was something that people should have expected, because when the tanker fell, fuel started leaking, and then it led to people in the community, that's the community, rushing into the place just to scoop fuel from the fallen tanker, and then a vehicle trying to maneuver its way through the road passed up a flame and then caught up with people scooping fuel, and not just that, it took people around the community, because the explosion covered the whole wide range of locations. So that's what's happening. And now the condition of those in the hospital is very critical, as even as a DPG, 5 more people have died following this explosion in the hospital. And now some others are still under treatment, and it's expected that on the road, the tanker will be moved so that vehicle can pass freely.
Mayowa Okwanto, our correspondent in Benue State, there will try to talk to him in subsequent bulletins for more on that sad occurrence. Moving on now, this time, the Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria will begin a nationwide strike on Wednesday after expiration of a 2-week ultimatum issued by the union on June the 13th of a non-payment of stevedoring contractors. Correspondent Sharon Ejason was at the conference held in Lagos, where the union announced its readiness to embark on indefinite strike.
The President General of the union, Adewale Adeyonju, directed that the seaports be shut down nationwide. The indefinite strike, according to Adeyonju, became imperative following refusal of international oil companies to pay dock workers for more than a year.
Evidence of payment is seen. Our members are what? Our members are what? Withdraw services in all the nation's seaports until all issues in contention what? Are resolved. Because the IOC have taken Nigerian workers for granted. They can't do it in other countries. We are not weak. Nigerian government are not weak. The dock workers are not weak. Maritime workers of Nigeria were not weak. By close of today, 6 o'clock, all the dock workers, the seafarers, the Nigerian Port Authority workers, the shipping workers, all of you have to withdraw your service as from today. Thank you.
Other officials of other arms of the maritime sector, including dock workers, seafarers, and the Nigerian Port Authority, spoke during the declaration of the indefinite strike.
That up in flowing no action has been taken by the government. This is an information on behalf of the government. Because we know the government officials, they take their salary as a wages. But we poor workers, we are only getting our salaries and wages.
No payment. All the operations in the port will be withdrawn. Thank you very much.
To call the federal government, to call this IOC to order. And first of all, tomorrow they will know that the maritime, when we spend the 1 month.
We are one and are going to stand solidly behind our people to make sure that the right of each and every one of us is given. And by tomorrow, if they fail to call us, the strike continue. In the struggle for our land,
The 14 days ultimatum issued to the federal government and the IOCs has expired, and the Maritime Workers Union branches are of the view that the nation's seaports will be shut down. The question is, what does it take for the international oil companies to abide by the labor laws of Nigeria? Sharon Ijason, TVC News, Lagos.
Coming up on TVC News at 10.
INEC sees immediate commencement of prosecution of electoral offenders in the country.
Also coming up, House of Representatives worried about recent air crashes and runway incidents. We have details of these stories and more after this break.
Femi, can you hear us? Femi, establish your deal.
Hello, Femi. Good evening.
Oh yeah, the phone. Okay, don't come.
Whoa, what to me?
Are they still online? Yes, they are still.
Obama. Glad to have you back. The Independent National Electoral Commission says insecurity still threatens the credibility of elections in the country.
Now, the electoral body's chairman is asking for an immediate commencement of the prosecution of electoral offenders in the country. Senior correspondent Femi Akande tells us more.
Continuing with the review of the 2019 general election, the Electoral Commission is holding talks here with the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. Before the elections, there were various strategic meetings, yet insecurity remained a major blight on Nigeria's electoral process. The INEC chairman says this was largely responsible for elections being declared inconclusive in some parts of the country.
We must cast our nets wide. I am happy to note that the Nigeria Police Force made several arrests of alleged electoral offenders during the general election. We have since requested the police to avail us of the case files so that we can initiate their immediate prosecution. While we will continue to do our best working with the security agencies in this regard, I wish to renew the call for the establishment of the Electoral Offences Tribunal.
The police, a critical partner in securing the polls, is already looking ahead to the next elections in Kogi State and Bayelsa State. They seek greater cooperation from politicians, political parties, and the electorates.
The meeting actually came at a very critical period, particularly when we are preparing for Bayelsa and Kogi election. And critical issues must be touched on. Particularly, we must touch on the relationship between security agencies and other stakeholders, the effectiveness and impact of electoral risk assessment and the response by the security agencies, training and development of security personnel, which is very important before the election.
According to the police, during the last elections, 58 high-profile arrests were made. 25 of them were during the presidential and National Assembly elections, 17 during the governorship elections, and 14 others. Out of the 58 arrests, 39 have been conclusively investigated, concluded, and charged to courts, while 19 remain pending. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Femi Akonde joins us now live from Abuja for more on that particular development. The INEC chairman, Femi, recommended the establishment of the Electoral Offences Tribunal. Did he tell stakeholders at that meeting about the scope of this tribunal and how seriously INEC is taking it?
Yes, Nifemi, the establishment of that tribunal is already captured in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and that bill is still in the National Assembly. You recall that the 8th National Assembly could not get that through. Of course, they passed the bill, but the president declined assent to that bill, and that is still a very contentious issue and one of those controversial issues, of course, that marred the life of the 8th Assembly. But, you know, with the establishment of this Electoral Offences Tribunal, the Electoral Commission believes that they'll be able to dispense with election irregularities, violence, ballot box snatching, and all other things. And this would be a deterrent against others who are perpetrators of this electoral act, because this has greatly affected the credibility of elections in the country. Another thing is when these people are electoral offenders are arrested during elections, they are taken into custody by the police. What happens to them remains a big question. Now INEC is asking to be involved in the prosecution. They are asking the police to give them to hand over the case files of these of electoral offenders to them so that they would begin prosecution. It's rare to see people being prosecuted for electoral offenses in Nigeria. We just see them apprehended while carrying out these acts, but we really don't know what happens. And this has actually, this they say is actually one of the things that still encourage people to carry out these acts because they feel they can get away with it.
That's right, Femi. Apprehending electoral offenders is one thing. The police said that about 58 suspects were arrested in the 2019 election. But then what happens before the election proper? What is the police going to do differently ahead of the Bayelsa-Kogi governorship election?
Yes, that is another very critical time. You know, in most cases, the precedent is set in the pre-election season. That is when we witness widespread violence. Political campaigns usually turn violent. We see a lot of hate speech, inflammatory remarks. I feel what the police is saying now is that they will be doing more during this season. If they can stem the tide of violence in the pre-election season, then the election proper on election day, everything will be contained, and they will be able to control they will be able to control an outbreak of violence, and this again will greatly impact the outcome and give that electoral process credibility.
Perhaps we are just going to witness something different in this forthcoming election to be held in November. Thank you for talking to us tonight, Femi Akonde. And moving on now, air crashes and runway incidents have become a cause of worry for the House of Representatives. At its sitting today, the House urged the Minister of Aviation to liaise with the relevant government agency for the enforcement of safety standards as prescribed in the aviation industry guidelines. National Assembly correspondent Joke Adisa has more.
Between 2005 and 2012, Nigeria recorded 7 air mishaps, which led to loss of many lives and destruction of properties. To the lawmakers, the recent near mishap involving a Boeing 737, Mr. Emeka Azubogu from Anambra State, rises on a motion of urgent public importance on the need to forestall air crashes in the Nigeria aviation industry.
That the aircraft on landing skidded off the tarmac, causing it to overshoot the runway. As a result, destabilized all on board and instigated panic on its passengers and other airport officials as a result of flood in the airport runway, intermittently caused by heavy downpour.
Other legislators are in mutual agreement that relevant bodies can work harder to ensure that no airline is encouraged to fly during inconducive weather.
Most of the very aviation problems or flight problems we are having in Nigeria are as a result of some outdated equipment being used in the airport. If you look at most of the airports we have across the country, it's full of bushes, and they don't have what we call bird repellents. And sometimes, because of the bushes and lack of these bird repellents, of these birds sometimes have found themselves into the aircraft.
There are critical issues, which he has mentioned, about people who are supposed to be regulators shying away from their responsibilities because they have interest. And I believe that in Ninth Assembly, we should take a holistic approach on aviation sector.
After an exhaustive debate, the House urged the Aviation Ministry, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, the Airspace Management Agency, Accident Investigative Bureau, and the Nigerian Meteorological Agency to ensure compliance with aviation industry guidelines. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria are to prevail on aircraft owners to ensure strict adherence with the rules of weather conditions while flying. When constituted, the House Committee on Legislative Compliance is to ensure that the resolution is carried out to the latter. Joke Adisa, TVC News, Abuja.
Exploring possibilities for peace and harmony in northern Nigeria will be the focus of governors in the region for the next 4 years. The 19 of them, under the aegis of the Northern Governors Forum, say they would be working hard to bring back the region's lost glory. Plateau State Governor, who is the forum's chairman, says this is a project they must deliver on. Tessa Kende tells us more.
Plateau State Governor Simon Lalong arrived in the council chamber of the government house in Kaduna. He is flanked by former governor of Borno State and chairman of the Northern Governors Forum, Kashim Shatima. The gathering is meant to be brief and the focus is clear. Change of button from former Governor Shatima to Simon Lalong as chairman of the Northern Governors Forum. The former Borno governor wants his former colleagues to support Governor Lalong to make a success of his assignment.
I therefore urge all the Northern governors to extend the same support and cooperation accorded me when I was the chairman of the forum in order to move the region forward.
The new chairman of the Northern Governors is pleased with Senator Shetima's words. Simon Lalong says Northern Nigeria has suffered setbacks in the last decade. He assures that the region's growth will be the focus going forward.
The northern region has suffered great setbacks due to the activities of terrorists, kidnappers, bandits, and the farmer-herders conflicts. This trend has rendered the entire region economically backward. We must therefore collectively explore all the endless possibilities for peace and harmony to reign in the north.
The Plateau governor was elected chairman of the Northern Governors on 17th May this year. Tessem Akende, TVC News.
You're watching TVC News at 10. Still ahead.
EFCC investigating more than 15 property in Ilorin.
Also coming up, 3 men arrested in Australia following counter-terrorism raids. Stay with us for details.
Well, Business Now, the Standards Organization of Nigeria, has said substandard aluminium roofing sheets worth over 200 million naira. The seizure followed information gathered during weeks of surveillance and monitoring. We have details in this report.
Officials of the Standard Authority stated that the aluminium roofing sheets were found to be of lower gauge than what has been prescribed in the Nigerian Industrial Standards for aluminium roofing sheets.
NIS 488 is the standard for aluminum roofing sheets. So we have come here and we discovered that they even have 0.2, 0.25, you know, which is far below the minimum required thickness. And, you know, it has a lot of consequences using this kind of aluminum roofing sheets, because anybody buying it will not have value for the money. Because once you buy it, any little wind will blow your roof off.
It was noted that the roofing sheets were smuggled into the country and did not undergo standard quality verification. Following intelligence reports, the roofing sheets were tracked to 3 different company premises in Uyo in Akwa Ibom State.
Losing 200 million naira over substandard products, it doesn't make sense to anybody. And we are not even happy we are doing that. But we want to stop it. We want to stop Nigerians from doing that. Let them do the right thing. Import products that meet the requirements of the standard. That is what we are campaigning.
Will-be buyers of aluminium roofing sheets have been urged to consult any of the agency's state offices for guidance.
Now, why would anyone go through the stress of getting foreign exchange just to import table water from China to Nigeria? This is what the semi-command of the Nigerian Customs Service uncovered following the interception of 3 trucks loaded with more than 7,500 packs of table water. The water were concealed with human hair products. TVC News correspondent Ifunaya Eze reports.
When the packs of imported table water were being showcased, many were curious to know why water should be an item to be imported from China.
To know whether it is water.
Officials of the Nigerian Customs and the National Agency for Food and Drugs Administration say it is an absolute prohibition, more so when information on the product is written in a foreign language.
We have 3 trucks containing water using false declaration, kind of. And now this one equally, they use artificial hair to cover the water.
The explanation we got from the person working with these trucks that the woman want to supply it to Chinese firms that are doing construction of our roads in Nigeria. I now ask that person that we have potable water in Nigeria.
Another troubling seizure was this trailer loaded with 864 of 30-liter jerrycans of sulfuric acid. The security implication of this particular seizure was not lost on those present.
It is written there, is sulfuric acid. That this one is here, it has been detained and subsequently may be seized because it requires the end user certificate from the National Security Advisor. This, according to experts, this can be an item that can be used to make other explosive.
While highlighting the command's efforts at suppressing smuggling, clarification was given regarding laws guiding the transfer of cargo from one customs administration to another.
All merchandise goods in transit must pass through the joint border post. This is the only joint border post they have between Benin and Nigeria here. Other border posts that goods should not pass through there. So that is their policy. It is a domestic policy of the Benin government, which myself and even Nigeria has no control.
Other seizures recorded include more than 1,700 bags of 50 kg foreign parboiled rice, used clothing, ginger drinks, and soaps. Ifunanya Eze, TVC News, Seme.
The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries has re-elected Nigeria's Mohammed Bakindo as Secretary General for a 2nd term. Bakindo, an accomplished oil technocrat with a wealth of experience in the oil and gas sector, was first elected as Secretary General of the bloc in 2016. The election took place at the ongoing 176th meeting of OPEC member nations in Vienna. OPEC has announced a 9-month extension of global oil production quotas under the Declaration of Cooperation among member states. Negative trade depicting losses on investment continue at the stock market. We turn to Effiong Ekop, who has details.
activities at the stock market remained in the lower territories as weak economic parameters have direct effects on the markets. A key trade indicator, the index, dropped heavily in the afternoon. Many other middle-level firms were dragged down in price cuts. Today, we look at the performance of the stock market in the first half of this year. It has been a half year so terrible for investors and stockbrokers who lost huge incomes and earnings. In absolute terms, investors have lost nearly 500 billion naira in the period. The constant depreciation in stock values caused investment misfortunes. Again, trading results posted by many companies showed lower performances, leading to low dividend payouts. The weak economy does not leave support gaps for investors, especially small holders, to turn around their investments or mitigate their losses. And now we look at other African markets. In Ghana, the market was down. Investors merely factored into cheap equities in the markets. In Kenya, the market closed in green. Manufacturing and banking securities had attractions for investors. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange closed negative. The fixed income sector was dominant in contribution to the overall performance of the markets. Ifyong Ekop, TVC News at the Stock Exchange.
Moving on, OPEC and its partners have decided to extend the current production quota agreement, but the unrest within the cartel continues. At the London market, the Brent crude steadies at $65 per barrel. The OPEC basket moves to $65 per barrel. That's business. We're coming up in sports. Ghana beats Guinea-Bissau to reach last 16 of the African Cup of Nations. We have details in sports after this. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying tuned. The Eagles of Mali advanced to the last 16 of the Africa Cup of Nations as Group E winners after beating the Palancra Negras of Angola 1-0 in Ismaila. Amadou Aidara scored the game's only goal, finding the net with a fierce drive from outside the area. Mohamed Magasuba's side will face Group D runners-up, the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire, in the last 16 on Monday. A draw would have been enough for the Palancra Negras to advance, but they fell behind when Idara fired an unstoppable shot past Tuni Kabaka 8 minutes before half-time.
What a spectacular strike from Haidara! And Mali are soaring high. The Eagles know that
In other group game, the Carthage Eagles of Tunisia joined the Eagles of Mali in the last 16 after drawing goalless with Mauritania in Suez. The Eagles sealed top spots in Group A with 7 points. The Carthage Eagles follow in second with 3 points. One more than the Palakwa Negras of Angola in third, while Mauritania finished with 2 points at the bottom of the table. Ghana's Black Stars have reached the last 16 of the Africa Cup of Nations after beating Guinea-Bissau in their final group match in Suez. A dominating performance saw them edge their opponents 2-0 with second-half goals from Jordan Ayew and Thomas Partey.
In the second, Ayew gets a decent break here. Ayew for the opener and finds his second of the competition. Within seconds of the resumption of play, Jordan Ayew has found his
In the other group game, defending champions, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon and the Scourers of Benin played out a goalless draw. The result means both teams will progress into the next round of the tournament. With 2 goals in their final group match, the Black Stars finished top of Group F ahead of the indomitable Lions, who stay in second with same number of points but with an inferior goals difference. The Scourers of Benin Republic are in third, while Guinea-Bissau crashed out with just 1 point from 3 matches. It is confirmed the Super Eagles of Nigeria's next opponent in the round of 16 of the Nations Cup will be defending champions, the indomitable Lions of Cameroon. Cameroon finished second in Group F and will meet the second team in Group B, which is the Super Eagles. The match will hold on Saturday, the 6th of July at the Alexandria Stadium. Both countries have played against each other 22 times since their first meeting in 1916. Nigeria have won 11 times, drawn 7 games, and lost 4 times to the indomitable Lions. The Super Eagles have beaten the indomitable Lions 4 times in their last 5 meetings, including a 4-0 win in Uyo during the World Cup qualifiers. England women suffered a heartbreak in their Women's World Cup semi-final after a narrow 2-1 defeat to the holders, the United States, in Lyon. The Americans took the lead inside the first 10 minutes, at beating Naham in the USA goal. Nigeria Professional Football League side Enugu Rangers have confirmed a massive clear-out of unproductive players from the club. This move was made preparatory to the 2019-2020 domestic and continental campaigns. The club confirmed 22 players have been retained, while no fewer than 23 players were cleared out. New players will be added to bolster the squad before the start of the new season. The 2018 ITO Cup champions finished third in the Professional Football League. Nigeria has secured 4 spots at the para-table tennis event of the 2020 Olympic Games held in Tokyo, Japan. The 4 Nigerian players secured their qualification for Tokyo 2020 from the Africa Para-Table Tennis Championship in Alexandria, Egypt. Sydney 2000 gold medalist Tajuddin Agunbiade earned a place in Tokyo with an easy win over Hussein of Egypt in the men's Class 9 final. Paralympian Ahmed Koleosho will also be going to Tokyo Games after winning the men's Class 3. The 2 of them will be joined by Victor Farinboye and Olufemi Alabi. To transfer matters, where Arsenal have completed their first transfer of the summer with the signing of Brazilian teenager Gabriel Martinelli. Arsenal confirmed that the 18-year-old forward has signed a long-term contract. Martinelli has joined from Brazilian side Ituano, where he had scored 10 goals in 34 games after making his debut in 2017. Martinelli, who models his game on Cristiano Ronaldo, says he wants to work hard and push himself to the next level. Crystal Palace have been left fuming by Arsenal's approach to sign Ivory Coast winger Wilfred Zaha. The Gunners have offered £40 million, but Palace values Zaha at around £80 million. They are furious with Arsenal for what they believe to be a ham-fisted attempt to destabilize the Ivorian and secure a cut-price deal. Palace want a higher fee than the £50 million Manchester United paid for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Tottenham have signed France midfielder Tanguy Ndombele from Ligue 1 side Olympique Lyon for a club record £53.8 million.
The 22-year-old has signed a deal until 2025, and the fee could rise to £62.8 million with incentives. Ndobele is Tottenham's second signing of the summer following the arrival of Jack Clark from Leeds United. West Ham United have rejected the £19.7 million bid for striker Marko Arnautovic from a Chinese club after the striker said he wants to leave. The Hammers regard the offer for the 30-year-old Austrian as disastrous. Manchester United have made a £70 million bid for Leicester City defender Harry Maguire. Leicester's board have confirmed Maguire's desire to leave the club if a bigger team wants his services. To the Chinese Super League, where Rafael Benitez was on Tuesday unveiled as the new head coach of Chinese Super League club Dalian Yifang, with the former Newcastle United and Liverpool boss replacing Choi Kang-hee. Benitez, who left Premier League side Newcastle after failing to agree a contract extension at the end of last month, takes over a team that is in 10th position in the Chinese Super League following a 3-1 win over fellow strugglers Beijing Rehe on Saturday. The Spaniard takes over a squad that features Marek Hamšík, who played under Benitez during his time at Italian side Napoli, as well as former Atletico Madrid winger Yannick Carrasco. Benitez's first game in charge of Dalian will be on Sunday, when the club take on Henan Jianye in the Chinese Super League.
I know some coaches, and I was in contact with them. They will explain to me about the Chinese league. So I think it's the right moment to come and then try to improve and try to do things well for this team. I think also it's an opportunity for these players to grow, to be sure that they can be better players if they work hard, and I'm sure they will do it.
And that's the much we've got for you from the exciting world of sport. It's back to the duo of Nifemi and Azizat.
Moving on TVC News at 10, 21 years after the death of Moshood Abiola, the June 12, 1993 presidential election hero, family members and close associates say the process of the election was transparent and remains the most credible in Nigeria's history.
Although they commend President Muhammadu Buhari for immortalizing the man, popularly known as MKO, they urge him to back it up with benefits and allowances due to a former president because of the mandate freely given him by Nigerians. TVC News' Kazim Olowe has the details.
The slogan was Hope 93. The party was Social Democratic Party, and the symbol was a white horse. The man at the center of attraction was Moshood Kashimawo Abiola, a businessman and philanthropist from Gbagura section of Abeokuta, Ogun State. After his nationwide campaign, he contested the election against Bashir Tofa of the National Republican Convention. Debo Akinwumi was a television cameraman attached to MKO Abiola. He confirmed that the process to his emergence as the SDP's candidate started in Abeokuta and ended in Jos, and religious sentiment was pushed aside due to his popularity and acceptance by the majority.
But at last came the winner as the presidential candidate of the SDP, Chief MKO Abiola and Alhaji Babagana Kingibe. Babagana Kingibe, knowing him, is a Muslim, and MKO Abiola himself is a Muslim. That's a Muslim-to-Muslim ticket. You wonder why Nigerians will fall in love with such a combination. They were looking at the brotherly thing like that with MKO Abiola, who has, without being elected or something, that has been doing so much for Christendom.
The thing went well in Jos, and kudos to three people that I can say, wow, they stood by the man and up to tomorrow. They are still with the man. First of all, Akanbi Olodo, the Jagaban of our time, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Governor Shoba, and late Isaka Adeleke of Osun State, the first executive governor of Osun State. That day in Jos, these are the people that played the big role for us to get the flag bearer.
Speaking about the conduct of the election on June the 12th, 1993, Shitu Kazim, a cousin of MKO Abiola, said option A4 was adopted and was the best in the history of Nigeria.
It is the first election that cannot be compared with any other election in the history of this country, because the election was the fairest. No rain, no sun, everybody trooped out.
Commenting on what the denial of the MKO Abiola's mandate has caused the family, the 85-year-old Shitu Kazim said only God can console the family.
Only God can condole us.
He gave the man the GCFR, which is honor given to all the ex-presidents in Nigeria, and Abuja Airport was named after MK Abiola, which is another kudos. But more to it is that what the other ex-presidents are getting, the dividend has not come to the family yet.
21 years after his death, this is one of the uncompleted projects of late MKO Abiola. This project has been on for about 27 years or thereabout, and it still remains like this. People still want Nigerian government to look in the direction of MKO Abiola and some of his uncompleted projects, including welfare package for his family. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Abeokuta, Ogun State.
Moshood Kashimawu Olawale Abiola forever lives on in the hearts of many Nigerians and now is part of Nigeria's democratic history.
No doubt about that.
Yeah. But with that, we wrap it up on TVC News at 10. But remember, you can get all the stories we brought to you and even more on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. The handle to search for is TVC News NG.
You can also get details of all the stories we're reporting on our website, tvcnews.tv. On behalf of everyone here, it's good night and thank you for joining us.